Got a 2000 Kawasaki Ultra 150. Sucked some seaweed up the other day. I was near the dock, so I tried just making it to the dock to get out, pull the seaweed off. Ended up seizing the engine. I was in the process of doing that. Basically what happens, I thought the jet pump was full and clogged. I pulled that whole pump off, no issue. This itself, the drive shaft, doesn't turn. I could get about a half or a quarter turn on it with the vice grips, but that's about it. Come up here, it almost sounds like a dead battery. Basically everything's all seized up. I'm gonna pull this off. I'm gonna try to get to the heads, see if I can figure out what exactly it is that's going on down there. I'm hoping I just melted a piston ring, you know, possibly just the top end or something, but we'll have to see. I like to label things just so I know where everything goes. We're gonna take this off. Okay. What we gotta do, there's a hose clamp down here. We're gonna undo this bottom one, as well as loosen up these bolts coming up over here. And pretty much this should just lift right out and separate. We got 1, 2, 3, and then we got 4 coming up this way. 5 is right here. It's this little white connector that runs to here. Got a small bracket here, plastic, covers up basically the flywheel, back of the transmission for the drive shaft. 2 bolts, one here, 10 millimeter. I put them back in just so I don't lose them. I got 3 bolts here that go to the exhaust manifold up here. Okay, there's a little gasket. And I got the 2 longer ones which go on the sides through here, attach into here. Alright, took the plugs out already. I'm about to take everything off. I'm going to take the caps off so this way I can look into the cylinders. Take a screwdriver, can move. That's all I got going so far. Can't really see much, but I'm just hoping that it's something in the top end and not the bottom end. With my luck though, it's usually figure out which way the cylinders, which ones are moving. You take a little bolt or something, you put it in. So we know that that one's not seized up. Gonna try over here. Just gonna put it in, hope for the best. Doesn't seem to be moving cylinder 3. Cylinder 1 looks pretty solid also. So hopefully, wait. That's moving, so it may not be too bad. Okay, I pulled off all 3 heads, labeled them 1, 2, 3. Definitely got a lot of crud in that one, no question about that. The cylinder 2 looks, you know, pretty good for the most part. Then cylinder 1 all the way down there. Not really sure, so far looks okay, but I gotta look better. Cylinder 3. Got the flash on here, so it doesn't work. Watched a few videos. We're gonna take out the carb, take out all this. I'm gonna lift the whole block out of the engine, so just got to take it out. Apparently you can't get the engine block out with the carbs and stuff in. Gonna undo the top portion, and then we're gonna get down, label everything like before. Okay, we got labeled 6, 7 coming from here underneath there, 7. Where's 8? 8 is gonna be the fuel line over here. Comes all the way up, comes out there, boom, that's 8. Let's see, 9 is right here. Another fuel line comes down, basically goes underneath all the way out this way. Got to take off the choke, okay, and then what's called throttle cable, stuff like that too down there. Okay, about to pull the carb out. You had a little wire that comes all the way to the front. I think it hooks up to the oil thing, as well as don't forget about your choke and your throttle cable. Okay, also these are sticking up. I labeled them upwards. There's a little, you can't see them because I covered it, little hole that sits up here. I think for the water, for cooling or something, I'm not really sure. Yeah, just make sure I'm keeping them all so everything's the same and symmetrical. I'm gonna label my oil lines, 3, 2, 1, and then also coming down here, just gotta connect the main hose for the oil. This way I keep everything in line. Okay, get a bolt ready for the main oil because it's gonna leak out. I just shove the bolt in and then I use the hose clamp. I don't know if it matters, but I took some spray paint and put it on the flywheel, so this way when I separate it, I know where everything is. Also, you got the starter, it looks like up here. I'm gonna undo these. Otherwise, pretty good. I took the engine mounts out also. There's 3 bolts, one back here, one there, one directly in the front.
Actually, it's all busted apart. You want to know something?
So you got one starter cable here, as well as we got one underneath the engine was a coolant line. I just flipped it over sideways. This way I was able to get right in there. I think it was an 8mm. Other than that, pretty much it. Okay, we got the engine out. Looking at this cylinder, towards the front of the ski, looks pretty good so far. Second one as well looks okay. This one is just destroyed to shit, cracked and everything. So we're gonna take these 6 bolts off here. We got 4 bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 to pull off the heads. As well as we got 9 bolts coming over here. I've been using tire spoons, just kind of wiggle everything out, separate it apart, so this way I don't break anything. Just gonna pull everything apart, see what's going on. All right, we're gonna pull one. Gonna pull the starter bolts. Gonna pull these off. Okay. Gonna pull all these. There's one. There's the other one. Okay. We got one here. Let's see, pulling all this stuff off. Okay. Pulling that off. Pulling that off. Pull a couple are off. Should be everything. Okay, I'm trying to pull this head off right now, or this cylinder. It seems pretty jammed and seized in there, so I sprayed it with PB Blaster, just so this way it would lubricate the side, hopefully loosen it up. I also sprayed the other 2, just so this way I'd make a coating, just to protect the other ones, because I'm going to look to see if I can reuse them. Also, I labeled everything back closest to the flywheel, middle, front, as well as which was the back on both, just so this way I know exactly, there's no confusion later. Got a C cylinder head, probably the wrong way to do it, but I'm using a gear pull. Just try to push that cylinder all the way down. I think the crank shaft is destroyed anyway, but I don't want to ruin it further by beating it. I used the deep dish. Seems to be working so far. Relatively easy. Okay, cylinder is toast. Head is shot, cracked. I got some up and down movement. Looks like if you look in there, wherever my finger is, it's I spun a bearing too. While I have the engine out, I'm replacing the drive shaft bearing. Okay, what I did, I just undid, there's 4 screws, peeled it off. There's gonna be this little metal plate that sits right here. We're going to take 5200 marine adhesive, just line the gasket on the outside, stick everything back together. The way it goes, it kind of sits, sits like that. You take your drive shaft and then you just slide it in. Slide it in, slide it all the way up to about there. I'm gonna leave the drive shaft out for right now, just so it dries. Put a nice thick generous amount on around all the things. Okay. I use a little bit of brake cleaner just to clean the surface, as well as scrape the gasket and some steel wool. Got the new engine. I'm gonna start with the oil pump in the front. I'm just gonna try to just take off the cap, split it. I'm gonna try to leave on as much as I can. So this way it's just less headache, less issues. You know, I may need to take off these wires. I'm not sure yet. Let you know what I get into. But you know, I'm gonna try to keep everything as is. One line here that goes all the way into the back though. Gonna undo that one first. I got another nipple that comes right up into this front section. Just gonna try to do a little piece by piece, nice and easy, nice and slow, so everything stays together. Okay, this just came a lot more in depth than I anticipated. Thought I was gonna be just taking one engine out, putting the other one in, boom, nice and easy, nice and quick. So I'm gonna have to swap over all the gears and all the crap. When you're taking off, this is the inside of your oil pump. Pull your oil piece out first. What I did was connected. So it came like this, and now this thing, when I pulled it out, it's weighted, so it just kind of flopped down. I don't know if it's just weighted to make it spin or whatnot, or if it's lined up specifically. I gotta do some research right now, figure out what's going on exactly. I'm gonna pull the starter out though. Just maybe not. Well, let me do some research, figure some things out before I get in depth involved with everything. Alright, we're going to take a little break from this front section until I get some more information about it. Let's start working on, take everything off the sides, put everything back on over there. It took a while to get to this point. Did some prying. Was able to get the carbs off. Okay, with a screwdriver, tapping around, sitting in here. These little things. I'm going to clean everything up. They were nice and clean until I got all crud and crap in them. And then just switch it over. It looks like I got studs here. I'm gonna look in the box and see if I need to reuse studs or what the deal is. We'll figure that out in a little bit. Okay, so that would be straight. This way. This came out before. That spin, it's just weighted. I don't know if this needs to be timed, you know, if it's in a specific spot or if it just goes in anywhere. Here's the starter. Okay. This thing also, small one I just pulled, it just pops right out. Okay, here I can undo the Torx. Now, this is the new side. You know, that would be for the oil pump, that would be for the timing chain, that would be for the starter, and the that other little one. Alright, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take out all the Torx. Apparently, I looked at the service manual. There's a little Mitsubishi symbol right there. Okay? That's going to line up with, on the shaft, there's going to be a little notch. It's going to stick out. That's supposed to line up directly with that same thing. What we're going to do now, it's saying There's apparently a special tool that holds onto the back of this here, that holds the shaft solid when you remove this nut. I'm gonna see if I could get it. I'll try to, engineer something. I obviously don't have the special tool. See what I come up with, but first I'm gonna take off these, see if I can undo this bolt. Okay, so what I did, I just took the bolts out. It's pretty easy. The crankshaft started turning, so what I did, I just held on to the shaft on the back, and that was enough to get this off. Then this gear here, I was able to just wiggle it out, pull it out nice. And you're looking at it. The fat side, the more material, the weighted side, faces outwards towards you. Basically, the fatter portion was closer to me, the skinnier portion was on the back portion. Okay, now here, what I ended up doing, this was a little bit tight, a little bit stiff. I'm not using this whole block anyway, I'm sending it back. I just kind of locked it in on the side, right there, and just basically unscrewed. Trying to stay as neat as possible, as clean. You can see there's the little groove. That was what lined up with that the Mitsubishi symbol. Before I start cranking on this and trying to pull it off, pulling this gear out. Basically, you just grab it. Here's the starter right here, the smaller one. Just pull it right out. Nice and easy wiggle it. It's a gear on the back that goes to this flywheel. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna attempt a gear pull. This is the wrong way to do it because I don't have the proper tool or whatever it is, but this is how we're gonna do it. Alright, we're gonna try round 2. Still not the right way to do it, but we're gonna use a harmonic balancer puller. Okay, coming through here. I just got some bolts from Tractor Supply. Where the size was, what are we looking at? M6-1.0 by 65. Okay, I just screwed them in as far as they could go, pretty far, almost the whole way. They're standard, so I'm just gonna try seeing if this will work in place of the other one. I'm gonna try to give it a shot. I ended up getting the proper tool. This screws on here, and this piece here screws right in, and it's like a normal gear pull. There's flat spots right here for a wrench. It just is so much easier. Okay, can't explain this one. For whatever reason, the pusher tool, this one isn't long enough. This came in the pack that I got off eBay. So this is a longer one that I just had. This is a harmonic balancer puller. It's I got a Harbor Freight, normal one, universal. So I'm gonna use this one instead. It's a little bit longer. Okay, you have a little marking here. That's gonna match up with this little marking. See the A and that little dot right there? That's gonna match up. Underneath here is the little tongue that sticks out on the drive shaft also. So that lines up with the marking, which lines up with A. Okay, this gear here should, not anymore, but it should spin freely counterclockwise. I have the starter gear in here now, so it won't spin. Freely counterclockwise, should not spin clockwise. Continue to get that solenoid click. I pulled apart the starter and found that it's all just inebriated on the inside. Alright, got the new starter, put it in, ended up blowing it. What's happening is the one-way clutch is gripping. It must have been tight or something when I was putting it all together. So I got to pull out everything. I'm pulling the engine tonight. Going through the same process. I'm going to pop off the oil pan cover in the front and see what the deal is. See if I can loosen that nut, figure it out. Alright, pulled the engine out, loosened this up a little bit. It was hard. I used an impact gun to do it. This was really stiff, really jammed. Spins counterclockwise. Doesn't spin clockwise. This whole thing is sliding back and forth. We're going to try to tighten it back down, see if it makes a difference, see if it still stays nice and loose. Okay, so I loosened the bolt at free spools. What I did, there's a washer behind here that goes onto the shaft. I flipped it 180 degrees. It was a little bit tapered. I tried that. At first it worked great. Once I tightened this down to 94 foot-pounds, it ended up getting tight and real stiff on me. You know, to me, that's free spool. Before it was like forcing and trying to push it to make it go. Don't know if I figured it out, but there's two washers. One here on the crank, one on the inside on this. You got to pull the actual clutch out. Then there's a bearing. This is on the bottom portion down here. They're tapered. There's a taper or a chamfer, whatever it's called. You're supposed to have that taper, that angle facing towards the crankshaft, towards the cylinders. That might be my difference. We'll find out. Fire. We're good. Torque down to spec. Both of those little washers that are in there, the tapered end needs to be facing the back of the engine towards the cylinders, the tapered end versus the flat end. Looks like we're good. I ended up ripping my gasket. I'm gonna try to get a new one. Otherwise, I'll use some type of Kawasaki Bond or something like that. This says torque to 94 foot-pounds. I just did that with Loctite. These says torque to 8 foot-pounds. I didn't have one that went light enough, so I just made them nice and snug with some Loctite. That's pretty much it. In order to tighten this down, it says not to. I had to lock this here. I broke my PTO coupler that sticks onto the back. Usually you just screw the new one on and you just hold it right there. Lock it in here, the drive shaft, in order to tighten it. I didn't have that, so I improvised. Now we're gonna, put the cover back on. Apparently you're not supposed to take the oil pump out because then it's harder to prime. I'll have to reprime that after. I'm gonna put the gaskets on, do what I gotta do. Okay, so we basically just started putting everything back on. Used the gasket kit, put this back on. Just got everything back together. Watched the videos in reverse. And put everything back together. For the most part, took this bracket off. Swapped everything over. Everything from the old block to the new block. There was a gasket in here. It came with the kit for the starter. I found that the gasket that was on here was already good, so I just left it. Everything else, we're gonna leave this here. Most likely we're gonna then drop the ski in just like this, hook up the carbs and stuff like that, and the exhaust all lasts once it's inside the engine. Just waiting on the PTO coupler because I broke it, cracked it. Take it from there. All right, I hooked everything up. I watched the video in reverse. Sounded like a bad starter. Couldn't get it going. Eventually got it to turn over. So I pulled the solenoid out. Definitely bad. Solenoid was in this back corner right here. So I'm gonna replace that.